was baptized and ordained as a minister. King Solomon is the first African-American church in the city of Benicia, California. It became known as the Little Church on the Hill. It has been in existence since 1953, and at a time when racial segregation was still widespread. As he remembers, Reverend Floyd says, one of the biggest challenges I had to face back then was the blatant racism and discrimination. A large focus of the church has been to remind people of the belief that God looks beyond people's race. I held the first desegregated church service in Benicia after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. When I came to Benicia in 1951, things weren't as open as they are now for black people. When the Arsenal closed, most of the black people moved out of Benicia. Many people moved to Vallejo to find more affordable housing. I've seen tremendous changes over the years. Things were kind of rough for black people, but that has changed. Black people own homes here, and they built businesses in the community. There have been a tremendous change. Many of King Solomon's congregation have moved to Vallejo. Pastor Floyd recalls that church services were first being held in the homes of members. In the year of 1953, they began holding service in the Delta Manor Center and the Benicia Housing Projects. They had not yet found a place to call home. The church has always met in Benicia, eventually moving a building from the Arsenal to its present site at West 11th Street and Military West. Reverend Floyd recalls that being a challenge as well. He says, because of the conditions and age of the building, many folks said that it could not be moved, that it would fall apart before reaching West 11th Street. But God had a bigger vision. We made it. Today, King Solomon is still predominantly black, but welcomes all ethnic groups. It was a challenge to get the church in the city of Benicia, for it had not yet become desegregated. There was a black-owned businesses in the city of Benicia in 1953. There was no black-owned businesses in the city of Benicia in 1953. The church had to push through racial barriers during the civil rights movement. It wasn't until 1960 that the King Solomon family entered their own building. The church was then segregated out of necessity. Pastor Floyd has always taught his members to look beyond color and racial barriers and see God's love for the human race. All races are the same in the eyes of the Lord, says Reverend Floyd. My appeal is that God treats everyone the same regardless of race, creed, or color. Reverend Floyd says that his members know that it's nice to be nice and to show others that you are nice. It is a saying that all King Solomon members are familiar with because Reverend Floyd always says that. In 2009,